Investigation you'll see only here on Eyewitness News. Operation Summer Heat was the biggest coordinated narcotics crackdown by the NOPD since LaToya Cantrell became mayor.
But the August drug sweep happened during a very different push from the mayor's office to reform bail practices at criminal courts and help lower the jail population. Investigative reporter Mike Perlstein is back with another explosive story in our ongoing series, Bailout. Mike?
Well, that's right, Ton and Natalie. Tonight we look at how these two different positions have clashed, and one of Cantrell's top assistants could be caught in the middle.
Our undercover officers came into contact with dozens of the most dangerous drug dealers in the city of New Orleans, selling everything from crack cocaine to heroin.
When New Orleans Police Chief Michael Harrison announced the city's biggest drug sweep in years, Mayor LaToya Cantrell stood by his side to praise the risky operation dubbed Summer Heat.
Our officers, our detectives, investigators have been working tirelessly to round up and to show you what we've been able to do just today.
Highlighting the connection between drug dealing and violence, the mayor said she would continue her crackdown.
We are not going to let up until we ensure that they are off the streets of New Orleans.
But shortly after the police rounded up 71 alleged drug dealers and issued warrants for 54 more, another top official working for the mayor put his own stamp on Operation Summer Heat. This is a senior advisor to the mayor.
I understand that, and I don't understand what I'm looking at, and I can't comprehend why somebody would do that.
Joshua Cox is Cantrell's Director of Strategic Initiatives, and he's also the founder of the Freedom Fund, an organization that raises money to post bail for arrested suspects. Documents show the fund has bailed out about 200 suspects, including a $5,000 bail personally posted by Cox for the release of a rape suspect. Also on that list of 200, 7 alleged drug dealers arrested in Summer Heat.
They're going to go out there and put all their time and energy and effort and risk their lives to arrest persons that are serious threats, and then the mayor's office is somehow involved in their release. It's kind of contradictory to common sense and public safety.
Cox incorporated the Freedom Fund 1 year before being hired at City Hall. The mayor's office would not allow Cox to comment, but other fund organizers say he stays involved strictly as a volunteer in his free time. More importantly, they believe what Cox launched is a long overdue reform that helps keep people from doing unnecessary time behind bars.
The existing system is actually locking up people who are not a risk to public safety simply for being poor because they just don't have the cash to bond out, and how that is actually very destabilizing.
It started when a group of business entrepreneurs, including Cox, looked at community bail funds in other cities. Here in New Orleans, donors can give as little as $10 a month. It's a revolving fund, meaning that once defendants complete their cases in court, the money goes back into the fund to bail out others. The organizers say 92% of suspects get through their cases without any missed court appearances or rearrests.
We identified money bail as one real risk to public safety, and by the way, a major taxpayer waste.
Organizers say the fund only helps suspects with local ties whose bail has been set at $5,000 or less. With other sweeping bail reforms, most drug defendants now fall under that amount, including the Summer Heat suspects. Like Carlson Young, accused of selling crack to an undercover officer, Young's bail originally was set at $2,500. After he spent 2 weeks in jail, the public defender's office filed this motion for bail reduction, pointing out that Young has a job and community ties. A magistrate dropped the bail to $150. Records show that Cox paid the money and Young was released.
Regardless of their charge, the judge has determined, based on the risk assessment, which looks at criminal history, that individual can safely return to the community.
WWL-TV legal analyst Chick Foray has worked as a prosecutor and defense attorney.
It looks like this is a well-intentioned program. Let's put together money so that we can fund and help folks get out of jail so that they don't needlessly spend time in jail.
Foray said he also sees risks, especially when the mayor's assistant is involved. Take Carlson Young. He was bailed out by Cox and the Freedom Fund despite a rap sheet showing 5 felony convictions and 4 separate stretches in prison.
You can't have this do-good theoretical concept and make it fit where you have dope dealers who have criminal convictions and are charged with serious crimes.
Some of the biggest questions are coming from another group that works for Cantrell, police officers. They hear the mayor say this,
and that's what this is all about, public safety.
But they see her assistant, Joshua Cox, signing these.
I mean, not only do we have a revolving door, but we're going to sit there with the oil can and make sure that it spins as quickly as possible.
As we did when we launched our bailout series 2 weeks ago, we reached out again to Mayor Cantrell for comment, and again we were denied an interview. But in a previous statement, Cantrell said that she sees no conflict with Cox's work with the Freedom Fund.
And Mike, you have another bailout story tomorrow night. What should we expect?
Well, that's right. We look at more of the Operation Summer Heat suspects with very troubling criminal histories, and we also look at some possible legal problems with these bail reform efforts.
All right, looking forward to that, Mike. Thank you very much.